What's good, everybody? Welcome into BTT here on Survivor Series week. Hopefully, you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We drop at least one little episode, only 10 to 15 minutes. We understand you have a life every single Friday. I am the coach. My partner, as always, Big Tommy C, producer, man behind the scenes, and intern Dan as well. Tommy, we're coming off AEW. The most over guys at the entire Full Gear pay-per-view in New Jersey was the Costco guys. Dad, son, Rizzler, let's go. But we're not here to criticize them. No. We're here to criticize literally everybody else. But we have friends, and I love Bobby Lashley. And a lot of what came out of that, Tommy, is what happened after the match, and they have these post-fight or post-event press conferences, right? And this just started a few years ago because they like to treat it like a sporting event. Do you like, first of all, do you like the press conferences at the end of the event? I do. I do.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all. And if you're gonna give me some shoot questions, I love it because you get the instant reaction. It's live. There's no beeping. There's no pulling you off the air or anything. You're asking the question, and the talent's there, and even the owner of the company's there. So I like it.
All right. Well, unfortunately, they give out at both places. It's not just AEW, but they give out media credentials to people that aren't even in the media. Just because you write for ODark30 Wrestling 411-972.com does not mean that you are a wrestling journalist. And this young lady from Fightful, which I believe is Sean Sapp's group over there. I don't know a lot of them. I've never met him. Don't care one way or the other. However, her name's Katie, and she asked Bobby Lashley about how does it feel to walk into a company with so many black champions. And Bobby, in a very classy way, shut her down and says, "No, we've normalized that. You don't need to ask this. We're just champions now." And she took a lot of heat, Tommy, so much so that she has shut down her her Twitter account, but yet she's a public reporter. How are you supposed to be a public reporter if you can't take the heat when you ask a dumb question of three black men up there who are just trying to make their entrance, make their shine, and she wants to get clickbait headlines, and that's the only reason you ask that question.
That is the only reason she probably did it to get clickbait, to get people to notice who Katie is. And by the way, that was a mic drop moment from a man, Lashley and MVP. They just shut everybody down when that subject came up on the live scrum. And that's what I'm talking about. Live scrum, live press conference going on. You asked a question, it's not the answer that you wanted, but guess what? He gave you the answer that he wanted to give you, and he shut you down.
I like staying in character during those press conferences, especially when Tony Khan's sitting there. And what did Tony Khan do? Because we know Tony, he loves everybody to like him. He wants Dave Meltzer to write about five-star matches. He wants Sapp and his people to give them all the coverage. He goes, "I'll answer that question."
Oh,
And I'm like, "No, Bobby handled it. MVP handled it because he's like, no, we're not going to answer from you. No, you're a joke." And that's what both of these places need to understand is that if you're going to hand out credentials, they need to be somebody like Chris Van Vliet, who's going to come in there and ask really good, smart questions. Like I work with the PFL, everybody knows that. And I will be doing a lot of these press conferences in 2025. The whole point is to get quotes out there, Tommy, so you can have press coverage of your event. Why would you need to answer that question? And why would that need to be an article coming out of that event when you're just trying to pick up the company after a pay-per-view? That had no business being there.
no business whatsoever. They're AEW superstars. I don't look at color. You don't look at color. So just move on. And for Tony to say, "Oh, I'll answer that question," you basically crapped on his AEW superstars right there and saying, "Well, you want the real answer? You'll get it from me." No, Tony, you shut up and you move on to the next subject. That's what you do.
It is there's going to be have to be a real shift, and I don't know if in the next near future, because let's be honest, Tommy, there's not a lot of money in being a wrestling reporter. There are a few people that make some money from their podcasts and some sponsorships and things like that, but most of these people, they get hired and they go, "Hey, here's how I'm going to pay you." you're going to get a media credential and you're going to pay for your own way. But you get to go backstage and sit in the arena. And most of these people are like, yeah, sign me up. Sign me up. And this poor Katie girl now, not only is she getting raked on social media and shutting her account down, but a lot of people are bringing up old tweets that she's had in the past. And if you're truly going to be a member of the media, even though they never get checked in wrestling, which is why Meltzer's had a career for this long, you throw stuff against the wall and then it is what it is. Whatever sticks, that's what you tout. But if you're truly going to be, Tommy, a member of the media, then you've got to be there thick and thin, ask good questions, and be credible. But none of these people are doing this for a living, so they don't give a damn about that part of it. And that's what bothers me the most, especially for a good dude like Bobby Lashley to have to sit there and answer that.
Yeah. And the big word that you said there, coach, was credible. Most of these jabronis are not credible at all. They want to throw stuff at you and see if you can answer it. And like I said, to get more people to follow that person on social media. Oh, I asked Lashley that question. He didn't know how to answer it. Credible is the word. So if you put me and you there, we're going to ask great questions and smart questions. Someday we'll be there with access. Oh, I had an access pass. You had one, right? I worked backstage, right? We both did it, and we got paid for it.
I've never seen a dirt sheet writer backstage ever.
Mm-mm.
Ever. So when
Mm-mm.
all these people say, I'm going to pay $14.99 for this newsletter, or I'm going to listen to this person because they sound like they know what the hell they're talking about. They do not. We've never seen because they don't allow these people backstage. So how can they be an expert if they've never been backstage? They've never shown up. The only time I ever met during my time, and we didn't do press conferences, so admittedly so, but Tommy, I would meet them at the bar afterwards at our hotel. That would be and I'll never forget. I used to buy into this kid and this person who hated me on this one website. I'd read it every week. And then we're in Albany, New York. Sure enough, I go to the Chinese place next door that I love so much. And this kid comes up to me, acne all over his face, 16 years old. Coach, can I get a picture? Sure, man. No problem. Hey, by the way, I'm the author of this article on this website. My whole world stopped, Tommy. I realized that for 6 months, I let this kid dictate how I felt about myself as a talent. He was a 16-year-old kid allowed to write for this particular website because they weren't paying him. They're like, hey, we need content so you can write. That's when I realized, you know what, in the wrestling business, you got to take it with a grain of salt. It is what it is. You
Mm.
know, it really is.
Meltzer been doing that for years, man.
He's finally, thank goodness, starting to get his. I've never met him in person. He's taken several shots at me over the years, and pretty much all he has to say is, "Yeah, coach sucked. Yeah, 13 years in WWE. Yeah, coach sucked. Yeah,
Mm,
over 10 years at ESPN. I was horrible. I was
mm,
horrible. I don't even know, Tommy, how some of these people think what is a good career. Do they think you got to be in the WWE for 40 years? My head would pop off my shoulders if I was Michael Cole right now. He's had a great
yeah,
job, made a
yeah,
lot of money, but 28 years, never
yeah.
missing one Monday night or one Friday night. Oh, can you imagine? Can you
So
imagine?
let's see. You worked for a top wrestling company, WWE,
Yes.
lots of years. You
13
leave
years.
there, you go to the the top sports company, right?
Yep.
On television, ESPN. Oh, but you don't know what you're talking about.
Over
Really?
20 years. Over
20
20
years,
years
folks.
for both. And
Yeah,
I'm currently at the PGA Tour, which is the
right.
top organization in golf,
I think so.
and
Yep.
PFL. They're a worldwide fighting
Yep.
company.
Yep.
And we're not here to give you our credentials. We don't
No.
need to do that. You just listen to us and you know that. But my point is, we have earned our spots. And when you go to those scrums, this is part of what you run into because you have people that don't have the slightest clue what to ask a superstar. It's why a lot of times, like Tony Storm, how many times we see her just walk out of their scrums? She's like, you know what I mean? And then you had their new women's champion. They didn't even have a question for her at their last big event. She stood there or sat there embarrassed. I was
Yeah.
embarrassed for her. I really was.
Yeah.
So they've got to figure this damn thing out. because I don't know what year they started these press conferences, Tommy, but they did not do them when I was there. This is something new in the last 10 years, probably, but I think they're necessary. But you got to have good people back there.
Yep.
You really, really do. All right,
I
that's going to
agree.
do it for this episode. We never go longer than 10 or 15 minutes. Do not forget, watch The Last Word on demand. We're live there every Monday night at 10 o'clock. And don't forget, Saturday night, when the main event goes in, we will start our post-game show, live watch along the main event, and then we'll have a full post-game on the entire Survivor Series card. For Big Tommy C, for intern Dan, producer man, I am the coach. This is BTT, or like we like to call it, Behind the Turnbuckle. Take care.